Don't you hate it when you're about to get ready for a show? Maybe you're about to listen to a show, and these people call as if the show's not the same time every day. Right, Laura? Driving me crazy. So annoying. Anyway, it's Friday. Cue the music. Hair all over. You know that? Go down. Yeah. This song's saying, "Slap me with a solo." Slap me with a solo, baby. Something's wrong with Rumble. Can't get the embed link. What you gonna do? And get it manually though. Get your questions ready. And I'll try to stop in time so we can actually get to them. Laura laughs because she doesn't think I can. Probably right. What do you think, guys? What do you think, YouTube members? We're deciding whether or not to make comments just for members because I think it's only fair, considering that's the way it is on locals. Common complaint we get from locals people. How come YouTube viewers? But I can't reverse the locals thing. That's what, and they're right. People on locals say, well, you have to subscribe on locals, support on locals in order to comment. Well, I only do that, but I'm saying, like, in order to comment at all in locals, you have to be a supporter. So that's like the equivalent of a member on YouTube. So I don't, you know what I mean? That's true. There it is. Whoop, there it is. Welcome to Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit. I'm your host, Rich Barris, the People's Pundit. Don't forget, if you like the videos, to like them, share them far and wide. We are on Truth, Getter, Rumble, Locals, everywhere, YouTube, X, but the best place, of course, is to follow us is on Locals, which is right there. peoplespundit.locals.com, peoplespundit.locals.com. All right, let's do a polling review for the week, because what was interesting this week is after a few weeks, right, especially during the 100-day mark, after a few weeks, we got all the media and university polls who cannot poll for their life accurately. Actually, let's rephrase that, because the truth is, folks, I don't know if they can poll. Not all of them, some of them, maybe some of them can. Their intent, and they intentionally do this. For instance, because all of the people who can polled this week, right? They held back some of their bigger doozies and biggest losers. And I mean that in the sense of, are you a winner if you do your job and you do it well? You're a loser if you can't do your job well and you're humiliated every time you try to do it. The biggest one of the week, because Reuters is bad. It's constantly on the worst pollsters of lists since we've been doing that list. I've been doing that list even before we started Inside the Numbers. This is episode 500. My goodness gracious. What is it? Is there that many episodes? 584. So, I mean, believe me when I tell you that we've been doing this list for a long time, because we've been doing it since before I began Inside the Numbers. I gotta say, I think it's going back to 2014, I believe. So Reuters Ipsos has made the worst pollsters list on every single one we've done. Now, Some, it's like a top 10. So some are not as bad as others. But recently, and in the Trump era, it's certainly gotten worse. However, no matter how bad they have been, I don't think even may look worse because they poll the states too, not just the national poll. So we're critiquing more of their work, but I don't think they have ever been off as badly and as frequently as the AP NORC poll. This is quite possibly the worst national poll in the business. And it's even more disturbing because this is a poll that is run by the so-called very credible AP. So people, of course, want to give it all of this credibility and all this weight in the discussion. They held back this true stinker for this week. Why? Well, I'm going to tell you why. To counter those of us who actually can poll accurately and who did not poll last week when they were racing to write their 100-day narratives. This poll is real bad because there's a lot of deception before and after. If you go to Real Clear Politics right now and you go and look for their final 2016 poll, which was conducted a few days before the election actually transpired, remember 2016, of course, we have early voting, but we do not have it on the level that we have it now. The vast majority of Americans were going to cast ballots on election day, not the same challenges that we're dealing with today, right? And they boffed this. Clinton plus 13. And if you go to Real Clear Politics right now and you look it up, you'll see that that link is no longer there. That is a broken link, and that's because the AP deletes the original links to their shitty polls after every election. If you think I'm kidding, go now to the 2020 aggregate on Real Clear Politics, find the AP NORC poll, and click on the link. Nowhere. It goes nowhere. I actually have a tweet about this. You can search for it on my feed. I've done this more than one time. I have to address how the AP does this. They bury these poll results, and you have to use the Wayback Machine to find them. Biden, he had a 14-point lead over Donald Trump in the final AP NORC poll. They got real cute in 2024, and in their final poll, they had Harris ahead. And they gave Harris these advantages on all of these issues. By the way, that link is also broken. You have to use the Wayback Machine. Why? Why did they break all these links? They don't want you to see the results. They don't want you to be able to go back and look at the historic archives. Because when they put a poll out, they want the name AP to carry them for credibility. Do I even have to tell you how bad this poll is for Donald Trump, by the way? I mean, obviously, it's bad. And it's bad for you because it's a lie. You can't poll that badly, that much in a row, and lay it all at the feet of incompetence. You're beyond incompetent at that point. You would look at it, if I overstated a candidate's support in 2016 by 11 points nationally, oh my God, what have I done? I'd probably put out a press release saying, I'm sorry. And going forward, I am going to get to the bottom of this. I'm sorry I let you down. And then hopefully next year, I would not come out and again overstate the Democratic candidate support by double digits or any candidate support. But if I did, I would say, oh my God, I'm sorry. And then at that point, actually, I would take a serious, long, hard look in the mirror and say whether or not this is a business for me. I don't think I'm serving the public well. I don't think I'm serving the country well. I'm doing a disservice to the country. But they don't. They just keep going. They gave Harris an enormous advantage among voters who cited threats to democracy. Donald Trump won that vote. He did. They gave her almost a 30-point lead on abortion voters. She won abortion voters, depending on what exit poll. By the way, the AP's own, by single digits. It was very close, which should be stunning to you, considering what we heard. She was basically on parity with Donald Trump on the economy and closing the gap on inflation with him. Obviously, folks, none of that stuff happened. She lost. She lost resoundingly. So when we do these little polling recaps, it's important to note some of us, again, I mean, I'm not, look, I have sunken my teeth and my claws so deep into this. I'm not letting go. I'm not going to do it. You can delete the links all you want. You can make it so it's very difficult. The world cannot find you. You know, they can't find the real you. But don't worry, because I'm going to be right there to tell them every time. You suck, and you suck intentionally, and you do it to mislead people. In no world could we poll any sample that's a legitimate sample and find the numbers that these people are finding. And anyone who gives them any credibility whatsoever or speaks of them as if it's a serious polling organization and a serious result, shame on you. I don't even know how to weight it. I mean, we could go and we could play around if we have time, and I'll go on Market Site and show you. I'll make the sample D plus 10, and I don't think we're going to get Trump that negative. Why? Because there's still 17% of Democrats who approve of his performance, and independents are about even. And unless you pack your independent sample with a bunch of Democrats faking, pretending to be independents, I don't know how you get anything different. Guy is even to +1, +2. I mean, you know, +2, -2. You know, he's bobbing in between that category. The rest of these things, it's scam. It's propaganda. It's a total scam. It's trash. And I've been enjoying Rasmussen's Twitter feed, by the way, reminding everybody. Had that poll do again? I mean, that is what we all have to do. Had that poll do again? Great. Had that poll do it, because be honest, I feel bad for Jason. Here he goes. He puts out a poll today, and the AP does this to him. Now, he doesn't, and I'm talking about Qantas, he doesn't have the microphone the AP has. So who do you think is going to get more attention? And that's tragic because, of course, Corley's a better pollster. And he's a newer one. He's green. Anyway, here we go. You know what's pretty neat? Making Paul Bedard's poll review for the week. That's the benefits of being on RCP, baby. Let's read it. Because I think, first of all, I'm in good company. Second of all, this is what I think is the most important takeaway from our polling. All right. And we did in the last couple of shows, we talked about in more depth economic sentiment and what people really feel about that, where they're really at on that. Right. But I think there's some really significant findings that other pollsters, including Mark Penn, who was the pollster for the Clintons. All right. He polls for the Harvard Harris poll right now. He sees it. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. And that's probably because Mark's a better pollster than the rest of these people. This vaporizer is disgusting. I didn't have time to go out and get my normal one. This is just, I don't know what it is. Mint vapor in a bottle. I never liked that. I was always like a smoker for the sake of smoking. I don't want it to taste like mint or this or that or the other thing. I want a blast of nicotine. That's it. I don't know why people pretend like they like fruity flavors or something. No, you don't. You like the throat hit. Be honest with yourself. It's like a drinker who's like, I don't really drink to get drunk. I just like the taste of 8 glasses of this. Who are you kidding? Donald Trump's approval paralleling those of former President Barack Obama's at the start of his second term, and the Republicans' policies are even more popular than he is, giving him room to grow his poll numbers. Different way of saying it, but pretty much what I've been trying to say, and then of course he's actually going to get into it, but a bigger thing for me is how well liked he is still, and especially among these core groups that we talk about all the time. And when we like Hispanics, big deal, big deal. They love him still. They just have a lower approval of him because of everything that's going on, which I think they did a really good job talking about. These new release surveys, where is it? His policies are more popular than he is. Our friend Mark Mitchell. I think he's got room to grow it, Mark Penn said. And I did the update, and now it's going to want me to subscribe here. Well, it doesn't matter because I can actually read right through that. And that's our poll right there. Then Paul Bedard is basically saying his approval is at 48, but his favorability is still above 50, outpacing his approval rating, which tells you he has room to grow. And then there's a quote by me and what I'm saying. And what I am saying in that is that I think, and this is a danger for Democrats, I'm going to repeat this again. It's a danger for people who want to bury their head in the sand and believe the APNORC poll because it makes them feel better about them. Like, I don't really understand this, Democrats. I still don't understand this because we deal with this like hate mail all the time from you people. Like, do you like to be lied to? You enjoy it. Like, I know most people, the believing a lie or being fed a lie, that's human nature. It's just easier. But when it comes to politics, at some point, doesn't it just, and maybe you're just praying for the end of the Trump era and you think that it's going to go away along with Donald Trump, but don't you get tired of that feeling in your stomach that creeps in around 9 o'clock at night on election night, right? As the returns come rolling in, as every pundit and analyst that you've been watching the entire cycles gets this long face, right? Their eyes start to tear up like they're going to cry like freaking babies on live television. And it dawns on you, oh my God, they did it to me again. But the AP poll. But the Maris poll. And your bottom lip starts doing that shaking shit. And then you like start to break down into a mental hysteria. You call your boss and you say that I'm just too fragile to come into work Wednesday morning. And don't you get sick of going through that cycle? To the point where like Mark Halpern and I have to do specials on beware of the mass mental health breakdown that's about to happen. Because why? Well, because it's like the drug market. If there wasn't a demand for it, the supply would dry up. You are the demand for shitty polls. You want the copium. Do you like the breakdown feeling where you find yourself watching fake political scientists on Twitter giving anecdotal stories about her trip to the ABC liquor store, which makes you feel super better about yourself? Doesn't this bother you after a while? Here's the truth. The man is still popular. If you fail to tank the economy and the economy rebounds, which I'm so glad Paul grabbed this quote by me because this is the most important quote. Not only is his approval rating going to recover like Reagan's in Reagan-esque fashion, because that's what happened to Reagan. And Democrats back then, Laura, they took it as like an affirmation that Reagan was just now unpopular. And that was wrong. And as soon as all the economic fears that they had that drove, by the way, Reagan's poll numbers were way worse than Donald Trump's. Well, you don't point to me again the crappy polls that haven't been right since you've been breathing on planet Earth as evidence. Reagan was in the 30s in some polls during his first couple of years in his first term. Most of the time in the low 40s. Trump is not in the low 40s. Stop coping. He's not. It's not even possible to get Donald Trump at 42% or 40% like the crappy AP poll and Reuters poll try to suggest. It's not even possible. But when this happens, he's going to have, if it happens, let's say if, that's the more fair thing to say. He's going to have a Reagan-like recovery. And then what are you going to do? Because you're like a drug addict who's addicted to fake polls. What are you going to do? That's what we should call them. Fake poll addicts. Oh my God. The fake poll addicts. If anybody steals this, let me know, please. Hit me up. At me on social. Because I guarantee you, one of those clowns is going to pretend like that's an original thought. All right. So, yeah, I mean, there you have it. Okay. So, pretty cool to see it in the roundup. Let's look at some of the polling that we were just actually talking about. I'm not sure. The one poll I want to show you, I'm not sure is up yet, but I do want to go to RCP because I want to look at I mean, you can just clearly see the difference. It's so obvious. And Mark Mitchell from Rasmussen actually has been doing a very, very good job showing people who is responsible for what polls and what they're doing. All right. There we are. I mean, look at this. Remington now is tied as well. They're going to poll weekly. We are not. I look, if our budget grows, maybe we'll do monthly again, but doing weekly surveys is almost outside of an election season. Is antithetical to like core beliefs about polling that I have, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. You're not going to see these huge swings, all right? That's why. Same reason I told you. So what? It's a debate. Kamala Harris is not ahead. That's called a response bias at best. At best. By the way, I got asked an interesting question, and I want to read this before. All right, asking me, because we do track response rates. Are Dem response rates just super low at this point? So I went and looked. The Democrat response rate is about 7/10 of a percentage point higher than the Republican response rate, the GOP. And I went back and I looked, and I can't give those. Well, I mean, I could, but I'm not going to give them for each survey. But we do pretty good with response rates. We have our ways of increasing them. That part of that is just secret sauce and tools for us. But I can tell you that most people are getting in the neighborhood of 1.25, if they're lucky, maybe 1.7 response rates. For us, the Republican Party usually, Republican voters, they're usually about that much lower. So if Democrats come in at around 2.4, Republicans will come in around 1.7. So I went back and I looked and I said, well, what about all the way back in January? Wasn't the case. It was still the same kind of a spread. Democrats like to talk more. And I went back and looked at the last couple of national polls that we did before the election. Basically the same thing. There were some times when Republicans were closer on par with Democrats, but during the last couple of weeks before the election, they actually fell more than their typically below Democratic response rates, which told us they were checking out. All right. So, and you'll know that's happening if you start to see like an unexplainable difference in the identification. However, we don't wait for parties, so that's a whole other conversation. In any event, I went back and I looked, and even though there was no real discernible trend in suggesting a decline in Democrat response rates, there was very clearly periods of a decline in Democratic identification, even though the response rates typically still did outpace Republicans and independents or others. Anyway, what does that suggest? To me, it's just when I look at that, I say to myself, how the hell could the AP get this sample? Like, it's more evidence to me that they're just fudging this stuff, that this is intentional. They're absolutely fudging the numbers. They're faking. It's a fake poll. Sorry. I hate, and it doesn't make me feel good to say that. All right. It's the last couple from your RCP. Emerson. Let's start there. Toward the end of the month of April, after all of these stinkers that Mark has been highlighting, Spencer goes out overlapping field dates with the Daily Mail, with Reuters, News Nation, also not a great poll, CBS News, the stinker New York Times, which was 913 registered voters. Like, first of all, where did you get 913 from? So you're not doing any multi-level regression. You're not doing any post-stratification. You're not doing anything like that. You just decided, I'm a RDD this bitch, and I'm going to stop where I think when I say, Simon says stop. Shoddy, bro. Because if you're trying to, if you're using some kind of propensity model, something like that, nothing about the field work makes sense. You had 4 days and you collected 913 responses. And by the way, of those, Donald Trump had like 36% support as far as the recalled vote in 2024, but just a very low quality, crappy poll. Just garbage. But anyway, Spencer's in the field during the times of these stinkers at the end of the month, and he comes up with 45-45, which I think is interesting if you look at Spencer's last poll. Because basically what you're seeing there is that Trump's approval roughly stays still. His disapproval comes down. Now, there obviously are things that we do where we attach different questions that are relevant to us on our own projects, which are done for big data poll clients of big data poll that we don't share with the public. And what was interesting to me, because the public polling project quarterly to quarterly, it's a big difference, and you should have expected, disapproval is going to be significantly higher. But when I looked at what I saw something similar. And then if you go to Trafalgar, 46, 42, they were we're all in the same kind of neighborhood. Mark's at +3. We were at +1. Qantas just out today, flat, even. Remington was even. Emerson, even. But what you'll notice even about Remington's is that, again, Trump's approval itself isn't really moving anywhere. The disapproval came down from what? I mean, it was like a high of 51 over there or something. I don't know. I'm not well versed in their in their trend line. But when they did have Trump negative, it was because Trump was roughly at 48, 49% approval, but his disapproval had ticked up. Interesting that's exactly what we saw. That's what happened. Rasmussen's a daily tracker. You can check it and look it up yourself, and that's what you'll see as well. Trump did tick up a little bit. He has a much more partisan sample. We talk about this a lot. It's a likely voter sample, which, by the way, I could parse out and show you what the difference is between people who were 2020 voters, 2024 voters. We could do that. Actually, locals, I'll make you one of those and I'll send it to you. Okay? And our sample was right on the money with the level of Trump support. Harris's support is a few points too low, but that doesn't mean it's a bad recall vote. You can clearly see where that her support is. Her support is in people who say, I prefer not to say, or generic someone else. They're lying. They're humiliated. They don't want to say they voted for Kamala Harris. That's why waiting by recall is a dangerous, dangerous thing. Very dangerous, because people lie, and because what do? You're just leaving values empty when you're waiting for those who did not vote in that particular election. That's too many. That's too much of assumption for me, folks. And what is assuming, Laura? She loves it. When you assume, you make up out of you and ours, out of you and me. That's so true in polling. Try to do it as least frequently as possible. Infrequently as possible. All right. Again, though, Qantas, same thing. Their last poll was what? -1? Essentially, Trump's approval rating stayed where it was. His disapproval ticked down a little bit. And that's the difference. And in no world, again, I just want to state this again. Even I think I know what happened with Emerson a little bit, because they're low for both. I think they're low for both. But I think I know what happened. It's sometimes just the nature of the sample you're collecting. Maybe it's a little bit, honestly, a little bit too adulty. I know it says 1,000 registered voters, but I think it's a little bit too adulty. Are we the biggest sample in this average? We are. We're the biggest sample size in this average at 3,128 interviews. Booyah! Bigger's better. What can I tell you? In polling, in any event, we're going to have to start putting little asterisks. I see one next to Remington Research. Are they partisan? It's Scott Rasmussen. As far to my knowledge, I don't think he's working for anybody. I could be wrong. But, I mean, we can very, very clearly see here that you have the stinkers. They withheld a few. Some are just trackers, like YouGov, the Economist YouGov poll. They're just going to track. But we overlapped the same time the Economist YouGov poll did, and I know exactly where they got that sample. In fact, I probably could come up at YouGov. I know what marketplace you buy your responses from. I know what you're doing to get these negative numbers. You're putting your thumb on the scale. I could actually, you know what? Maybe on Monday, I'm going to do this. I'm going to show you what they're doing. They're going to set those quotas to be completely unreasonable, and they're still not going to get the numbers that they want to get, which is, closer to that, maybe somewhere in between our polling and their polling. But then they're going to weight up the Democratic sample and the educated sample. Us, we're always around 13 to 15% post-grad. There's way more. And then they'll stuff it in college educated, not give you the breakdown of which is which, 4-year or post-grad. They won't do that. And they'll give you a generic college, non-college. Well, we do that too, but we give you the detail for a reason. So we're not playing little tricks like that on you. We give you the detail 18 to 24, 25 to 29, in part because our samples are large enough, bigger is better, and we can do it with a larger sample. They can't, because it just isn't adequate enough. The sampling error for the subgroup is so ridiculous, you don't even want to publish it. But we also do it so we're not playing tricks on you like that. Well, how did 18 to 29 get like this? Oh, well, if you look in the 18 to 24, they stuffed it up. That's what they're doing. And even still, the amount of nesting and fudging that I would have to do to get the spread to 44 approve, 52 disapprove is criminal. If there was a license in this business and the equivalent of like a bar association, they should be just like polling disbarred. You can see how all of the shitty pollsters have Trump in the range of 40 to 45, and all of the good pollsters have Trump in the range of 45 to 50 or 51. That's waiting. That can only be done by waiting or the manipulation of the waiting method. Disgusting. I don't know. Let's see. Let's make it 30% Northeastern, only 21% liberal. Boop. Not anymore. 28, 29. That's still not good enough. Well, let's weight men down to 45, 46. What do you say? Still not good enough? Well, let's get a few more postgrads in there. Just go ahead and stuff it in the college variable. They'll never know. And as you can see, that's why I'm telling you, it's got to be so dramatic. It's got to be even worse than all of that, because with our poll, you can see all those details. And if you look, you'll see there actually isn't that big of a difference between postgrad and four-year degree anymore. Even though you can clearly see by recalled vote that they voted for Harris overwhelmingly. Motherfudgers. Fudgers. Liar, liars. Pants on fires. That's it. Simple as that. Let's take a quick break, shall we? Whew. Let's take a really quick break. All right. 30-second first. Can I get the 30-second cue before we do the read? Is that possible? Where's my 30-second countdown cue? It's 2:39. You're watching Inside the Numbers. We'll be back in 30 seconds. All right, folks, you've heard the alarming news lately. I'm sure you have. Prominent officials are now openly warning about biological threats designed by humans, putting American safety at risk again. Yes, you heard that right. Dr. Peter Marks, a former FDA vaccine chief, raised concerns on CNN about mysterious man-made bio threats we are not fully prepared to handle. The thing is, it's not 2020, and this administration will not be fooled or bullied in round two. However, we know their plots, and they're sophisticated, but I got you. The wellness company's Contagion Emergency Kit offers early intervention with 5 doctor-prescribed life-saving medications like ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, Tamiflu, and a nebulizer designed to protect you from the next global threat. Ordering is simple. You fill out a digital intake form, and your kit arrives in 1 to 2 weeks. Don't get caught off guard. Head to twc.health/TPP and use the code, of course, TPP, to save yourself $32. You get $32 off, plus free shipping. And again, kits are only available in the US, all right? Which is nothing we can do about it, folks. Nothing we can do about it. All right. Peace of mind in a package, baby. That's what it comes down to. Peace of mind in a package. Also, I'm not even scheduled to do this, but I'm going to do it just to let you know. Don't forget that if you go to 1775coffee.com/TPP, the link is in the description. We have their awesome kits. This is it. This is the last day, which is why I'm telling you about it. It is the starter kit that is hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of coffee. I will do the read again later in a bit. It's not even, like I said, on schedule for it, but I know a bunch of you guys have already taken advantage of it. It's cool. It's worth it. And I'm in love with this coffee. And with my issues, I'm not supposed to be drinking all that much coffee anymore. So I'm going to drink the damn coffee I freaking want. You better believe it. If I have to pick it. Plus, Laura, honest to God, 1775 is easier on my stomach. Then, like, if you go, we love Cafe Bustelo. Love it. But it's not at all easy on my stomach, or any other dark roast for that matter. Except for that the 1775 is delicious. All right, let's hit it up. Let's start. Oof. There's a lot on the board here, isn't there? What is it? 242? Okay. Woo! Bu 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 bu. Doo-doo-doo-doo, oh, that's actually really cool. That's not like a question though. That's a conversation. If you can code, there's a lot of cool stuff that you can do with polling results. Uh, that's like a private question I should respond to you with because there's a lot you can do. I think Decision Desk is doing something similar as well, which is basically, you're writing a code to claw through the crosstab results and look at, and interestingly, we use MarketSite. Interestingly, with MarketSite, they have API calls. Not, I don't know how we'd gain access to them without buying a subscription like we do. We pay monthly for MarketSite for the business. But there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with it. A lot. And if you look at the New York Times and others, we also do use Data Wrapper, and they use a lot of R, right? And that's what you're doing. But what's cool about MarketSite is that you can use scripts built in. I wonder, wow, this is a kind of nerdy question that I love. And basically, he was saying, this is the first poll that I supported. I'll support them in the future because of the work. How I imagine you mean the quality of the work, and I very much appreciate that, Andrew. Let me show you something cool. Before you begin, please review. Oh, I forgot. That's right. We had to review these contractual agreements. When you do this in this business, volume matters. Again, bigger is better. The more business you do, the more cost effective it will ultimately be. Let me see if I can get you something that I think it's advanced analytics, data views. Let me go to the data set for this poll. Okay. And then let me see if I can go to run a data view interactivity. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, there's so much you can do. All right. Let me just show this real quick. Bear with me, guys, because this is a really cool question. And you guys may actually even like us to start doing some of this stuff. I'm not, outside of you, Laura, because you're not even really an employee. I mean, you're not an employee, But my favorite employee outside of Laura loves this stuff, man. Loves this stuff. So if we were to look at the data set for this poll, for instance, all right, check this out. And let me make it bigger so you can see it. You could run a bunch of different stuff. There's your R script right there. All right. But you can also do linear regression, logistic regression, ordered logistic. Not everything, of course, applies to what we do. Correlation, which is used. K means clustering. Very fun. Factor analysis. But the R script is often what we'll use because we have scripts that are already made. You just have to change up what you're trying to do. But see, you'll take the script. Every poll is going to be a little bit different, so may have different variables label different things, Andrew, but it's still the same stuff. And you throw the script in there, you paste it, and this button will pop up, and it'll say run. It's that simple. It's really cool. So you can write the script you want and then do it. If we wanted to do like a linear regression, for instance, and we wanted to take something like, I'd have to play with this, but I would need others in here, but we could do something like Trump's approval. We'll need the weight variable, survey weight, registered voter file survey weights. Whoops. Yeah, see, until I run it, it's probably not going to work. But the dependent variable, actually, we could do that. Boop. There we go. And it'll give you the R script. That's based on the weights, which is pretty cool. All right. And then what filter variable do we want to use? Maybe party detail. Okay. It's not like sometimes you have to, that script probably doesn't work for that. Yeah, it's not going to. I could probably clear this out and move this down, but we could do approval by screens. There's always screens. Let's do 2024 voters. Nah, it's gonna make me put that in there. Okay. and dependent variable, and you can do what you want. You could do standard, stepwise, backward, forward, note, intercept. There's a whole lot of stuff. Use variable codes as R columns. That's often applicable, by the way, depending on what you're trying to do. And then you throw your weight variable in there, your survey weight. I don't know why it's not letting me throw it in there. Probably because that's not the right script for it. But then you would run it, and it would come out cool. So there is a lot you could do with this already. All right, and we have our own scripts though. That's why I'm not used to running it with that. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Again, that's what I meant before, though. By the way, there's no way they're running any of these regressions. There's just no way. Their samples. I mean, you can, but then when these results pop out, it'll be interesting. You'll see how big for some of these subgroups when you take into consideration the subgroup sampling errors and you're trying to get that granular on what you're looking at. You almost, with samples as big as the New York Times, it's not even worth it. There's nothing meaningful that you can glean. I mean, you could pretend like there is, but when you already know that you really didn't speak to enough Asians, right, to single out any one of those subgroups. You didn't speak to enough ethnicities, that's different. But whites in the Midwest is not it's just not enough. We like division, by the way, because the Midwest is very big, and there's some big blue states in the Midwest, like Illinois. That's not going to tell us much if the sample's so small. We can't break out, East, North, Central, and West, North, Central, and then look and see if there's any significant change. But yeah, I mean, if you like our scripts, that's the simplest thing to do. Again, is if you write your own, like you said, is to I should have cleared all this out, but go into the your advanced analytics and throw your own script in there, and then it'll just pop up and say, what questions do you want to apply this to, and do you want to weight it or not? And that's it. So it's neat. It's cool. Or not even do you want to weight it? Do you want to use the values from weighting? All right. What else? I'll leave that up. Red Diver. I'm done with people who spell their names like total pricks. Tom is spelled Tom, not Thom. Where does this effing clown get off adding an H in Tom? What is it about smug losers that makes them spell or pronounce their names like pricks? That may win the best comment of the day. There is no Tom in North Carolina that spells his name with an H, right? Only pretentious Tom Tillis and pretentious other, like wannabe sweater vest wearing, country club going Republicans. Maybe. All right. But I get it. And I can't stand another thing, Red Diver, and I hear you. I'm not ignoring you. I can't stand when people abbreviate their first name and then call, like R. Daniel Barris, like, and I loved you, Todd. I love you, brother. But your name is Lawrence, okay? Your name is Lawrence, brother. What's wrong with Lawrence? It's the name your parents gave you. The only way I can possibly see that, Red Diver, is if my dad's name is also Rich, right? So, but we got around that. When I was young, they called me Richard, and they called my dad, no, vice versa. They called my dad Richard, even though that's not the Italian way, and every Italian who's named Richard hates Richard. But anyway, they called him Richard and me Richie. And then as I got older, it was vice versa, right? Or am I getting this backwards, Laura? But Laura always called me Richie. I was Rich and he was Richard. Yeah. And yes, Laura has always called me Richie, which is saying that's a Laura privilege, she says. Ooh, D. Weege wanted to get your thoughts on the Georgia Senate race. Any inside information, or do you have somebody you would run? I like Mike Collins as the Trumpy blue collar appeal. Uh, I don't know if Mike still has, and I'm sure he does. He's family, so I'm sure he does still have him around. He's made a lot of enemies, this guy, and a lot of people think he's a prick. Which a lot of people think I am, apparently. I can't imagine how they thought that. But it's different when you're running for Senate. There's something different about it. And it may not work. It may not. I have, as you guys probably remember, Mike's been on the show several times. He's a legit dude. You know, he pisses off the media. I don't know if he could appeal statewide in Georgia. I don't know if he could, because there's this like narrow, you got to thread this very tiny needle as a blue collar conservative running in a state like Georgia. You do. I think Doug kind of gave up his roots. I really do, and he really hurt himself doing that. Georgia's tough. They're in a bit of they're in a bad situation right now. Georgia conservatives in general, they're in a bad situation, and I don't know on earth what they're gonna do here. I really don't. You got me curious about something though. While we wait for that, let me just read through some of the rest. Did Tom see my super chat about RCP last time? Yeah. No, that was in the that was I don't, you know what? I don't know, crew. That maybe. But that was something that had been going on for a while. So the second part of your question I'm very interested in, which is, do you think the Vatican, because I got to tell you, I do know they watch the show. I do know they do. Do you think the Vatican elected Leo the 14th to drive a wedge between 47 JD and American Catholics on certain important popular policies? You are a very smart person. Exactly, Laura. That is exactly what they are doing. Okay. American Catholics have always been a royal pain in the ass to the Vatican. All right. Who obviously have a political agenda. Listen, I'm not trying to insult any Catholics here. So let me just get that off my, get that out of the way. I was raised Roman Catholic. I am no longer a Catholic. I am a Protestant. However, I would never intend to insult anyone, of course. But the church is a bad faith actor, and it has been for a long time. Okay. Doesn't mean every priest. I used to love my priest. Okay. And I still think he's a wonderful man, no doubt. And I'm sure there are very good people there. However, the church is more concerned about putting butts in pews and money in coffers. That's their number one concern. They can't have their flock supporting policies that will erode the church. And here, if we're looking by, what did I do? Race detail. I meant religion detail. We look, for instance, at Catholics. Catholics currently like Donald Trump a lot, as you can see here. Only Protestants, and that's because of the evangelical component of Protestants, only Protestants have a higher favorability. He's in the 50s with Catholics. As you know, he won Catholics. There's two things going on. One is he was elected to counter still rising nationalist populist sentiment that is sweeping the Western world. And I mean, Latin America is still the West, but sweeping all over supposedly democratically elected governments. And they need to counter it. Why? Immigration is a huge problem. It's a huge problem. They encourage, and if anyone has ever been to Latin America and observed what the church does down there, they actively promote illegal immigration. And it's really kind of sick and twisted when you think about it, because they'll talk to you like you're the immoral one. Meanwhile, their priests are down in Latin America getting caravans together that really result in the abuse of young women and girls, the trafficking of children. Like, don't you dare try to lecture me about the morality of this shit. And cut the crap anyway, because we all know what's going on. Hispanics are converting to Protestantism in America. The longer they remain in America, the more likely, and by the larger percentages that they're doing so, converting to Protestantism. We have done this. We've had entire shows on this. In the same vein, it's like the same damn thing that Democrats need to keep importing broke, lower income illegals from all over Latin America. It doesn't matter if you import their gang violence and their criminal elements with them. In the same way, the Democrats need to do that so that they can maintain a voting base. Because, of course, the longer they stay here, what happens? Political maturation, and they start voting Republican. Which, by the way, is their conversion to Protestantism is part of that. So much the way Democrats need to do that, the church needs to import flock. They're not growing in America at all. Every time there's speculation about an American pope, he was too damn conservative. And what bothers me about the Catholic Church is very simple. They pretend as if they don't get involved in politics. Oh no, we can't back any candidates. No, we can't advocate for anybody or any policy. And then they're doing it all the time. The leftists do it all the time. This guy is a direct response. A direct response to this. And if you thought, because it always makes me chuckle listening to conservatives going, I think I'll wait and see. Okay, you're going to wait? You're going to withhold judgment? Okay, let me ask you a question. When you're lined up against the wall, are you good now? You're going to render a judgment? Like, are you stupid? This guy was trusted by Pope Francis to change the ranks. Who becomes a bishop? Who's got a pathway to a cardinal? He trusted him to do this. He's conservative on abortion and traditional marriage. Bullshit. He's at best agnostic, which means what, folks? If you don't speak up against something that's wrong, does that mean you support what's right? You're just quiet about it? Unbelievable. The excuse making I've heard in Alaska. I'm glad my grandmother's not alive to see what has happened to her church. You want to know how I really feel? I miss her every day, but at least I can take solace in this. She didn't have to endure the evil, and I'm using the E word, the evil and pathetically corrupt response of that church to the revelations that their priests and their other upper echelon couldn't keep their hands off of little boys' penises. And then in response to it, they do nothing and appoint radicals to be the Pope. Francis was a Peronist. Argentina was doing well until the regime that he supported decided to commit mass murder and economic suicide. This isn't about disagreeing with what somebody believes. This is about right and wrong. This is a man who, as far as I can tell going through his social media posts, loves to lecture you about acts of love. And included in those acts of love, are you ready? Are poisoning your body with an untested, basically K Street bought and approved vaccine that you didn't even need. And enduring a criminal element in your society, which apparently you have no right in deciding who is and or is not a member of it. You think I'm kidding? I'm not joking. This guy said getting the COVID shot, Fauci shot, was an act of love. Kiss my ass, Padre. How about that? You worry about what you put in your body, and I'll worry about what I put in mine. I don't recall Jesus or Paul, who makes up 2/3 of the New Testament. I don't recall them ever saying, render unto Caesar what is Caesar, render unto God what is God, and don't forget to stick this shot in your ass cheek. Twisting. You got to give it to that church, though, boy. They got the longest history of twisting scripture ever. This is to stop you from changing your government. And American Catholics just don't agree. American Catholics have always been a problem for them. Except, of course, during the reign of Pope John Paul II, a truly holy man who understood that it is a fake moral high ground to support regimes like Paron and communist regimes, all because they claim they want to give you things. Don't you care about the poor? Sure, Padre, get your shovel and help them dig the mass graves. Don't get dirt on your collar while doing it. This is also the guy who led to the ouster of the Texas bishop who called Joe Biden a fake Catholic, because Joe Biden, of course, was making comments that represent the views of the modern Democratic Party, which basically says that you can execute a little baby at any point until the baby pops out of mom. Which the Catholic Church has been utterly cowards on. Maybe you'd have more followers if you didn't let so many of them get murdered in the womb. Don't get me started, guys. I might let you know how I really think. All right. And the bottom line is they just don't agree. They don't agree with this new wave of Christianity. They don't want to oppose Donald Trump, as you can see here. They do like him. I'm actually curious about Vance, though, because he's gotten some worse coverage. Let's look at Vance. Vance in this poll is slightly more favorably viewed as a margin, right? Or no? No, I mean, he's about on par with Trump, but I thought Trump had a higher net unfavorable with Catholics. Let's find out. That would be 41%. Let's call it 41%. Trump, yeah, I'm right. Trump is still at 55. Vance is a lower favorable because he's just more less less known. People have fewer opinions of him, but his unfavorable is lower at 41 ish. Let's call it 41, right? Yeah, 41 if we round. And then his favorability image, is 50.4. So Trump is more favorable at 55%, but also more unfavorable slightly. But again, Catholics don't disagree with J.D. Vance on immigration. That's why. By the way, on the book club, we were reading Nations and Identities. You may want to go to, where are you? For those who don't remember, we were reading, not Gandhi. Where's Gandhi? No, it was before Renan. Hold on. Let me go to the, when it wasn't Syed. We're not there yet. Where are you? I wanted to. There it is. Giuseppe Mazzini. To the Italians, 1871. In honor of the new Pope. I should have read it. Don't feel bad, American Catholics. You're not the first ones to be abandoned by the papacy. How and why does Lindsey Graham have such influence? Russia has won this battle. All these sanction talk does not help. China and Russia are getting closer. I know, Stephen. Look, it is the area of foreign policy and security studies and international relations has always been this enigma to me. Liberals, and let's face it, the ruling class in general, Republicans and Democrats, have always, looked down on the rest of us. If you don't have an ivory tower education, you're not smart. Blah blah blah. You get where I'm going with this. And every time there's a position that they want to support, that's their position that they want to argue or advocate for, it's always academia. You're just not smart. Let's go to the experts. What do the experts have to say? You don't like listening to experts? Are you backward because the experts said, right? We hear it all the time. Yet the foreign policy academic establishment is 100% dominated by realists like John Mearsheimer. And yet, you will not find a single student of John Mearsheimer in the State Department. Not in the National Security Council. Nowhere. Even in the Trump administration. You will find idiots like Lindsey Graham, who is a walking, talking example of John Schneider's Myths of Empire. This guy, everything's Munich this, Munich that. This, that, the domino theory, appeasement. It's all a load of horse shit, of course. It's all a load. But he's a product of the myths of his generation. If he read a book, he'd know it. None of these people read. They're all stupid. We got to stop giving them credit like they're smart or something. These are extremely dumb individuals. They just have a Rolodex filled with donors. He's a major problem right now. I can give you a name of a person right now who would represent South Carolina, especially because South Carolina is basically a new South Carolina. There are a lot of new people who have moved into that state. And I'll tell you one thing. They're way more MAGA than Lindsey Graham. They're way more Republican than Lindsey Graham. And they're not being represented. But because Lindsey Graham did what? Voted for a couple of his cabinet picks? Trump gives him an endorsement. It's on Trump, man. Meanwhile, he leaves his friends to waffle. Probably because his current chief of staff is the one who goes after them. This guy I'm thinking of, to whom I am referring, is not, because you're never all the way responsible for it, but he had a massive role in even having a plan for Donald Trump to take control of the government, as he failed to do his first term. This guy's entire job was to ask and answer the question, how do we make sure these personnel F-ups don't happen again? And what does he get in return? Quote, the boss, unquote, endorsing a shithead like Lindsey Graham, who's going to stab him in the back the first chance he gets. And if he doesn't, he'll outlast Donald Trump in Washington, D.C., and he will start to systematically dismantle everything Donald Trump has ever done, except for spending to the military, of course. That he'll keep. And he'll vote for dangerous Democratic nominees enthusiastically. Freebie. What are the chances some of these terrible pollsters are actually just making up numbers and not actually polling? Some of these polls look totally fake, and I make my own vape liquids. That's awesome. You know what? I'd like to try them. I am a menthol tobacco person, Peppers. All right, I want it to taste as close to a Newport as possible. Listen, I will tell you right now, I'm hard on one pollster in particular who tried to claim they were so accurate, because I know, and I can tell you right now, I know that last round of polling, I wasn't looking at everything they were doing, but that last round of polling was totally bullshit. It was fake. I don't think they didn't poll. I think they recycled numbers. So, I mean, what's more, right? Quinnipiac did it in 2020. I mean, this is, I mean, of course, some of this goes on. I do think they're throwing out responses in an effort to get a sample they want that are like, they don't have a legitimate reason to do it. We know they do that. And Seltzer admitted to doing it. She's gone now, Rich. She's gone now. Okay. And if the great Ann Seltzer did it, you think the others don't? Yeah. I mean, I hate to say I think the answer is probably yes to that. But I also think that they're just doing what they can to fudge the numbers, which I should probably do an episode on. Maybe Monday I will show you how I think they are manipulating the numbers. All right. And if you go to mine right now, my variables, you will see, especially for party, they barely change. Barely. They change on the margins. And that's because I do what's called rake weighting. And rake weighting is when you one by one apply weights to each variable, such as like education or a geographic region or something like that. And then you will see what it does to other variables in the sample. I mean, when we applied our rake weights, it barely moves party ID. Okay. So when I see pollsters show me the raw and the unweighted versus the weighted result, and there's a dramatic difference in party ID, for instance, I can tell that they weighted for party ID. And why would they do it? I mean, honestly, it's a big debate, and they're hiding behind what is an honest debate. They really are. They're hiding behind what is an honest debate. So people have argued, no, you got to wait for party, and others have argued, no, that's really putting your thumb on the scale. I am part of the second group of that. But if you look, for instance, I can show you right now. Right. So something like party. I mean, if I show that, though, I don't want to show any personal identification. So New England, by the way, right? For region, it was a little bit too much of the sample. It gets weighted down to 5%, right? Mid-Atlantic, 13. It was slightly, barely anything. It was 13 both times, but I'm rounding. East, North, Central, 15, right? So as these things get changed, what was one? I want to say the South Atlantic was too much of the sample, yet it didn't help Democrats, which was weird. But how much did it change the sample? Republicans were 36.7%. And after the rakes were done, they were 36.8. That's it. Tiny little tweak. Democrats fell 1/10 of a percentage point. 33.7 unweighted, 33.6 after rakes. That barely changes the result, folks. Barely. One thing that was moved a little bit because of it is that it did get a little bit more conservative. Conservatives went from a little over 31 to a little over 32, right? Actually, 32.6. So it would round up to 33. Moderates didn't budge at all, barely anything. I still think we may be a little too moderate, but we're still right about things being too moderate these days. Or no, excuse me, things being more moderate than they have been historically these days. And then liberals fell from 23 to 22. I mean, barely anything. The fact that they're moving these rakes so much, and you can see it there, right? There's some of it right there. You can actually see it up there. The facts that they're doing that is just crazy. It's nuts. It should not move. That was just on the screen. You guys could see that. It should not be, that the sample was 33% Democrat, and after my rakes, it's 37% Democrat. What? No, that's fudging the numbers. Fudging the numbers. And if we did, and you actually could see it when I just had it up, gender or sex, right? Sex, age, race, and ethnicity, education, and area and region, however you define your region, which we do through area, division, region, right? So, look, these are broken down by the states. And I know Laura's going to be like, don't draw all this shit. But it's not really secret sauce here. You can see we collected from different states. Each state that belongs in that particular region is thrown into a division, is thrown into that division, right? And then from there, we make another RV, means regrouping variable. All right. It's very, very simple. Obviously, the Northeast, New England, Mid-Atlantic. We make this very easy. Now, when we weight, as you could see, we weight more granular. I don't like doing just the Northeast, right? What if New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania are not enough of what makes up the Northeastern sample? And if you're not, and by the way, that happens a lot. New England, as you just saw, New England, they respond at very high rates. So New England can end up being more of the sample than they really should be. And you see that in media polls all the time. It's because several of the states, whether it's New Hampshire or Massachusetts, Vermont, they respond at very high rates. They vote at very high rates, but they're still not going to be more than 5%. They shouldn't be. And then overall, when you're talking about the Northeast, another 13 should be the Mid-Atlantic. And I see it a lot with pollsters. Somehow New England's like 9, and then anyway, the North Atlantic could be like 15. Well, that's crazy. The Northeast isn't that much of the entire sample, but you just saw right there. We don't do that. And look, we do this by calibrating to the registered voter file nationally. All right. So they're just doing that shit, Peppers. I'm telling you. So I don't think they're faking it. I think they're fudging it. You know what I mean? Some of them may be. May. I'm not going to rule it out. But seeing some Catholic conservatives save face for the new pope, saying the office is divorced from contemporary politics. You know what I have to say to that? Bullshit. That's what I have to say to that. Give me a break. Come on. Give me a break. So naive. It's so naive. Yeah, this concerns me, Charles, a lot. India and Pakistan. Trump is a peacemaker. We'll see. We shall see. I hope not. Last thing we need is another conflict, and I don't think we would be involved in one anyway, but it could hurt Trump if there was like a severe conflict, a significant conflict that breaks out between two powers of such stature, because Pakistan's not weak. They're not. Can they deal with India? Probably not. No, probably not. But no, they're not weak. That would be a significant conflict. Let's hope Trump does his thing here, Wouldn't, but again, that goes back to the comment though, Charles, before. So you got India trying to figure out where their place in the world is during Joe Biden's ridiculous tenure. That was just the worst, most incoherent foreign policy ever, and pushes them back into this like ancient feud. And now Trump's trying to deal with it, obviously. But Wouldn't the bump in religiosity from Leo's election potentially backfire on the left and church, though? It does in America, Norm. That's why they picked an American pope this time. That's a good question. It does in America all the time. American Catholics are more conservative than the Vatican is now. And that's just crazy to see, but it is. It's crazy to say, but it's true. Or at least the Cardinal stat. You knew this was a scam rigged election from the jump. You know it when everywhere from the press in Rome to the New York Times are writing fluff pieces about this guy for 5 days. We had addressed this because I knew, and then I already got the heads up that Jonathan Morris, everyone's favorite TV priest, right? And guys, guy's friggin' acting in movies with Robert De Niro. He thinks he's, big shit, right? He already got the word to go run all over the place, give interviews about how great this guy is and what a wonderful man. I just knew it. This election is Ray. I told Posa, I'm like, your church is gone, brother. This election is a foregone conclusion. They made a few votes to just give the others a token gesture, but they knew that who was going to be Pope from the, as we used to say on my side of this, from my side of the tracks, from the dick. All right. You're going right now? I did good all. No, I did good all show long. No. Are you going? I was gonna actually go, but it's 3:24. I still got questions. Are you gonna? Okay, but what about the girl? I'll get them all. Let me see if. Yeah, I know. Just bring them back for me, okay? You want to say it before you go? I don't know if you heard her. I was just repeating a phrase. Okay? They must have something on Tillis. I don't want him in politics at all. Not even on The View. Yeah, I think Tillis has always been a compromised little piece of turd. I never liked him. I didn't like him at all. I thought when he first ran, funny little story here, guys. When he first ran, he followed me on Twitter. He tried to make nicey. I think he was trying to get my favor. It's gonna cost you.
No, it's not. Gonna cost that.
Give me chance. You're right. I was naughty. Give me no sugar. Oh, withholding the sugar to clean up the show. Dirty trick, Laura. Dirty trick. It's gonna work too. Yeah, I think he was trying to gain my favor. It was during this period where McConnell's people used to reach out and you could tell what they were doing. They were trying to influence the model ultimately. And I remember they hated Ben Sass, and they were trying to influence the model as if that was ever going to work. But they would call up and make these suggestions, and I made it very clear right away, kiss it, and Tillis tried taking a little bit different of an approach, and I just thought he was a snake from the beginning. I thought he was a scumbag. I never liked him. I had to go. That's why I wanted to go. Don't forget real pods. Look, I'm gonna have to learn from you, Peppers, how to do this right. This thing's disgusting. I just can't take substitutes. It's I want what I want. It's gross. Give me a headache and everything. I'm where are the locals comments? Okay. But yeah, I'll tell you what, Beth. It would be interesting. But I'm serious. I am seriously considering, just to prove a point, of running against Tom Tillis. I am legitimately considering this. And they're going to come after me, and they're going to come after me hard. Thing is, Americans just don't give a crap anymore about the usual stuff that they try to dig up and point to and this and that. Americans just don't care anymore. Because a big part of the charade that these are good people, they're perfect people. It's gone now. That charade or the veneer that they used to, it's just gone. So I may do it just to prove a point, and that point is very simple. We have to become a representative government. This man now has won Tillis estate twice by margins that Tillis could never touch. He barely eked it by when he beat incumbent Democrat. Talking about Kay Hagan, of course. 2 points. He barely won when he ran for re-election in 2020. And honestly, I could argue the only reason Tillis did squeak by is because Donald Trump was on the ballot. Otherwise, he would have lost to Cal Cunningham. I could make that case pretty strong. He's a loser. And he does this, they will tell you, because they want to pretend to be moderate and thread the needle. That's a load of crap. They do it because of who stuffs their pockets with money and because they themselves have no core. There's almost nothing worse than a Republican senator. They're spineless cowards and they're crooks. They're worse. At least Democrats, which is why I can't stand when people call me like, oh, he's a Republican pollster. He's a right Republican. I can't stand the Republican Party. Everyone who knows me personally knows that. I can't stand them. I try not to hate other human beings. Frank and I were just talking about this on Quite Frankly last night. Very, very good talk if you guys missed it. We're going to do another one really cool. It's more like a non-political talk. Oh, come on. Laura's punishing me. She's not even going to stop me. She just wrote back, nope. Come on. Here we go. We got to do this. Come on, baby. She's busting my chops. 20 years. Come on, Laura. This isn't funny. You're on the air. This isn't funny, Laura. All right. She's probably listening too. Where was I? She's throwing me for a loop here. Right. So, I can't stand the party, and it's because at least I respect Democrats for being who they are and what they say they are. Like, for the most part. Of course, there are Democrats who lie, but it's like not. I think that they have almost an institutional edge on this, like being consistent and maintaining their values, because their values are in line with Washington, D.C. The perpetuation of bureaucracy, the welfare state, the blob, the war machine. That's all in line with who they are. They're statists. So it's easier for them to be who they are and what they say they're going to be when they run for voters. Republicans are frauds. Republican senators are crooks who then act as if they're moral and virtuous. And that's how they explain away their actions of lying to their voters. John McCain is a great example. I'm going to secure the border. I'm going to lock it down. I'm big bad John McCain. Lets all these people in. And when you have the audacity to bring up that he was full of shit, he looks at you and says, don't you have any compassion? They're scam artists. They're con men. And women. Joni Ernst is a perfect example. She's a total fraud. She is not anything of the person that she tells the voters in the state of Iowa she is. A total fraud. And the worst part is, if they ever ran on who they really are, they would get demolished. But they don't, because they're benefactors on K Street, stuff their pockets with enough money. They can go right back to pretending to be something they're not. And this is something they know that the voters want them to be. And then they have all of these straw men they conveniently blame for why they're losing on every front. And it's reason Rush was right about this. The late Rush Limbaugh. It's one of the primary reasons they hate Donald Trump. Because then he comes along and he's like, what are all you people doing? Get it done. And Gottfried's like, stop promising we're going to overturn Roe v. Wade. Appoint the judges who are going to overturn Roe v. Wade. This isn't hard. Hang tight, I'll do it. Think about how stupid George Bush looks in the annals of history. And he's going to go down in the history books as one of the biggest con men ever to be in the White House. Well, we can't believe the policeman of the world. I am the Lord's president. What a con man. Thank you, Bushes, for giving us people like Sandra Day O'Connor and Justice Kennedy. You ever see a Democrat do that? Of course not. Of course not. Only Republicans. Tillis, another spineless little turd. He's got problems with Trump's prosecutor. He said nothing about any of Joe Biden's nominees. Nothing. These are people who later attempted to put his so-called brethren in jail. Guy's trash. I have absolutely no use for him. He is trash. You don't represent Charlotte. You don't represent Raleigh-Durham. You don't represent Eastern North Carolina. You don't represent the Piedmont areas of North Carolina. Like, what do you represent? Guy's an oxygen thief. Would it not be more effective to use E-Verify to choke off the source of money and the incentive for illegal immigration? We should also triple and quadruple fines on companies that circumvent E-Verify by paying illegal labor off the books. I do believe in greater penalties for doing that. I don't think we need E-Verify. I don't. I don't. As far as stopping the actual flow right now, Trump has done it. We have plenty of laws on the books. The problem is we have people, including Republicans, who don't want to enforce them. Look at Langford the other day. When you do get a president who does want to enforce them, you have pieces of shit like that from his own party stab him in the back first chance they get. Like it's immoral or something. To keep a campaign promise, which 60-something% of the public wants Trump to do. Mark Penn brought that up in Paul Bedard's write-up in the Washington Examiner. His policies are actually even more popular than you might think they are. No wonder. No wonder why they can't win. No wonder why they never win without him. I don't think we need to do that to stop the incentive. I mean, you punish American companies for doing that, and you're gonna handle that anyway. But I think the bottom line is our system would work if we had people who enforced it. The government without Donald Trump, and this includes Republicans too, not just Democrats. Without Donald Trump, this government simply will not enforce the law. So it doesn't even matter if you add another system or another law to the books. So who's going to enforce it? They'll just turn a blind eye. Telling you, D, they'll just turn a blind eye. And then you'll have another database, which they will then use to what? God knows how they'll exploit that one. God knows, Man to man, vet to vet. I think you're ready to run against Tillis. I can hear it in your voice, and I can even feel it in your tweets. To bury this piece of garbage. It sounds like you have the backing of a few donors. I'm a screenwriter, producer, and I would love to help you writing any speeches. I'd only do it for free. You can't, though. It's a campaign contribution. I appreciate that. But it's an in-kind. That's another thing. These people constantly break the law with this. It's an in-kind campaign contribution. All I want is to bury this smug piece of shit who thinks he's untouchable. Let's show this arrogant beep. All right, Laura, I won't do one too many. He can bleed like the rest of us. This is why I feel like I don't feel like, I know this. They just think they're better than you, than me, than all of us. The arrogance is unbelievable. I can't stand the smell of it anymore. And it gets harder and harder to do this job because I know who's to blame. I know who the source of their frustration is. I know what it is. I know where it comes from. And I can't take it anymore. Not that I would be so arrogant as to compare myself to the Almighty or anything. But think about this. Have you ever thought what it's like to be God and to have all those prayers But because like God, like when you become a parent, you kind of realize a lot that you questioned before. Why would God let this happen? Why would God let that happen? I mean, it's just silly little questions. Because of course it says more of your misunderstanding of him than it does you know, anything else. But how painful it must be to sit there and listen to all of these prayers. And I'm not saying you can't do anything about it, but it's just like you guys, if you're parents, you have to let your kids make their own mistakes. You can't be a helicopter pilot. I mean, a helicopter parent, and you don't want them to love you because you force them to love you. But you are then you're like stuck listening to the frustrations all the time and the prayers, hopes, dreams, everything all the time. And you're like forced to endure the fact, and with the full knowledge that those like prayers are not going to come true. That's almost what it's like to be a pollster in this America. It shouldn't have to be this way, and it shouldn't. But that's what it's like. That's what they have done to this job. I might as well become like Dr. Phil for the American electorate or something. I don't know. Like I got to do something. I just can't. The show is what it was the plan for that. Of course, someone's got to speak out. Given the Walpole reports and Massey saying he was told it would be voted this, but is not on the calendar, are the Republicans really dumb enough to not codify the Doge cuts? If they don't, I think the party will go the way of the Tories. Or do normies not really care? Is it the normies that'll push the party the way of the Tories? I think at some point you gotta maintain the control over your activists. They're the ones who organize and do everything else. I think the Tories forgot about their activist base, and that's ultimately what did them in. Because obviously then it adds to it, Yeah, I mean, it's I think they are that dumb. I do. I remember during the 90s how easy it was look, I have a lot of respect for Newt Gingrich, former Speaker of the House. A lot of respect for this guy. But it was so easy for Bill Clinton to distract him. It was so easy for John Boehner to be distracted by a port that he liked that Obama would offer him at the White House all the time because, of course, John Boehner's an alcoholic and a crybaby. You ever wonder why Boehner cries all the time? He's drunk, dude. I mean, he's a crybaby, period, but grown men drinking too much and crying. Is there anything more disgusting? Ladies, is there anything less attractive than a drunken slob old man crying on himself? Or any aged man, for that matter. Stop crying! Freaking baby. The country's going to the hell in a handbasket, and you're sobbing in your dude, on camera, no less. Humiliating. Mr. Ohio bar owner. Crying like a bitch. All the time. Anywho, moving on. Sean Hannity is stealing fake poll addicts. I'm calling it now. Wait, and you watch. You watch. Fox News is going to hire that scam pollster. Actually, they may not. If something runs that I know may run in a few weeks, unless they succeed in killing the story because they have friends in high places. Gotta wait. Gotta wait. Gotta let somebody else take the legal jeopardy plunge. I'll jump on after. They got the lawyer fees for it. What is the best financial news or podcast to listen to? I already follow Maria Borderome, but I admit to confusion, and the polls just add to the confusion. We actually have a member of our community here on Locals, Beth, who is a repeat guest of Maria Bartiromo. I very much like that show. I also like Charles Payne quite a bit, although he does his own thing kind of now. But it's tough because financial news reporting is getting perverted and corroded too. It's tough. I used to love CNBC. I did. I used to love to read the Wall Street Journal every morning before I went to work. I used to love all this stuff, and now it's just totally compromised. It's sad. I can't even give you an example of that. Stay tuned. The new version of Inside the Numbers. We're going to be doing economic breaks. I'm serious. Because they're the ones who are leaving the hole. Oh boy. Oh boy. Hold on. I don't want to vape on camera. Laura will yell at me. I got this enlightening piece of information. I'm sure this went just spectacular for you. Hold on. By SL, I assume you mean St. Louis, right? I was at the St. Louis County GOP Central Committee meeting yesterday as precinct chair. My dad is higher up on the party. I'm earning my chops. We're the largest county, and the treasurer wanted to form the first database walkback. Oh my God, that should have happened years ago. I mean, the technology's all there. I got AI for crying out loud. It's incredible. As of yesterday, I'm now going to head that committee along with another Oracle database engineer and my treasurer. Oh God, get to work on it, brother. Good for you. And my treasurer is also an engineer. 1, clean the database, lose all the broken addresses. Latency issues on any of these voter databases, such a huge problem. Addresses, phone numbers, email addresses, anything. Yeah. And you want to follow the 10X model. My treasurer knows what's up and knows Pressler's good deeds. Yeah, I would here, I'm gonna put a name in this thing. Probably if you guys are there's somebody you should talk to about that. Yeah, there's also some pretty smart people at the more local county level in Pennsylvania that are also trying to follow that model or have been. I can't believe there's not a walk program already. I just can't believe it. Like, how many elections do you need where there's this organic, natural opportunity to shift that county and you don't even have a walk model? I mean, what are these people doing? Losing elections and stuff in their pockets, putting out fake polls. By the way, Peppers, there you go. I'll say it right now. I think Tony Fabrizio totally fudged that poll in Florida. I do. To get more fundraising, so he could get a chunk of that, by the way, and stuff it in his pocket. No way he had the Democrat up in a legitimate poll. No way. Which he then went on to lose by double digits. They fudged that to get more money. And if you're going to hold the left accountable for it, whether it's a media pollster, a university pollster, or a campaign pollster, you're going to hold the left accountable for it. You better damn well be ready to hold your own accountable as well. Otherwise, you're just a hypocrite. I don't care if he polls for Donald Trump, the freaking Pope, or God himself. I don't give a shit who he is. He fudged that poll, and he's got to be called out for it. Maybe we'll call him Tony Seltzer and Fabrizio. Come at me. I don't give a shit. See what happens. Anyway, there we have it. That's about all for today. Don't forget, guys. I really think I'm telling you, it's really. I'm not even getting paid to tell you this right now. I think it's a good deal. I love these guys. This is the last week to get that starter kit. The link's in the description. All right. So go to 1775coffee.com/TPP and you'll get that really cool froth. Man, that frother has changed my life. Okay. I'm not even kidding. Laura goes out and buys this thing. And it wasn't the 1775 one, which is better. It's a better one. It's got that little stand, which I love. Mine just, to try to balance it, and it fell all the time. Now it won't charge, but I don't need it because I got that. The scoop is cool because when I make the coffee, the funny thing is it comes with directions. I tried to follow the directions. When you grind them, it can be, when you freshly grind beans, it can be a little bit different. That scoop is accurate no matter what. And my porcelain spoon, for some reason, which is supposed to be the same exact measurement, is not. It tastes slightly weaker. It's weird. But yeah, these starter kits are great. Vitality is fantastic. It is. That dark roast, I just had some here. I guess she probably took it. My mother-in-law keeps stealing 1775 from us. She's like, "Oh my God, that coffee's good." I'm like, "You're right, it is, Ma. 1775coffee.com/TPP. Stop stealing mine." But she is. It's good. So I can't blame her. She's helpful when she comes around the house. So, if all it costs me is a couple of K cups and a quarter of my 1775 bag, it's not a bad deal. All right. But I don't know how many are left now, but they are getting light. We did good with it apparently, which is good. That's what makes the world go around. It might as well be people who are good and who support us and support what we do. Plus I got a rule, and that rule. And they were respectful of that rule, and were confident enough in their own product that they were confident that I'd like it, and they were right. All right. So with that in mind, don't forget to subscribe. We are everywhere. X, Truth, Getter, YouTube, Rumble, of course. The best place to follow us is right there, peoplespundit.locals.com. peoplespundit.locals.com. And also, I don't know how much longer I'm going to keep the public polling projects campaign thing up because it wasn't funded totally. So I kept it up, but it is what it is, and it's done. So you guys can give freely if you want, but at some point I'm just going to kill it and I'll start a new one, and we'll go from there because that poll's done. We'll do one quarterly. If the budget grows, we'll go one monthly. But right now, we're going to stick with quarterly. All right. So what else? Book club, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I do have some kids stuff, activities this weekend that I would like to get to, guys. I would like to go if possible. So I may adjust the time a little bit. It's always 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Count on it to be. But just in case I'm a little bit late or whatever, I'm giving you a fair warning now. I don't anticipate being late, but there's a lot going on. I'm also trying to get stuff. We call them honeydews for around the honeydew this, honeydew that. A lot of stuff that with the summer coming, and I have to take over my lawn again. I do. I got to take. Those of you who are maybe new to the show, you don't know that the People's Pundit's lawn is the crown jewel of the neighborhood, number one. And number two, I love it. I take great pride in it. My grandfather, I'll never forget, on Staten Island, water in this little 5x5 area. He loved this lawn. Had this little sprinkle, little fertilizer. He loved it. A good lawn says a lot. If you love your house and you appreciate things you work for, you make it look nice. And I got Tifway 419 hybrid turf Bermuda. It's gorgeous. Bluish green in the morning. It's so beautiful. I don't like what this guy knows that what I do for a living. He knows who I am. And around the neighborhood, constantly asking me. And I gave him last year one shot. I was like, if you pick up the clippings and post-emergent, pre-emergent, everything, I got freaking broadleaf weeds out the yin-yang out there. And that's it. I'm done. No more. I went back to the Andersons, which is, by the way, if you have a Bermuda lawn, the Andersons. That's the name of the company for fertilizer. It's the best for Bermuda. And I got it. I'm getting old, going out and doing all that. I just can't believe how bad it was. And it's going to take me several weeks to get this together. I'm probably going to get freaking crabgrass. I got to do the post-emergent now. I got to do the pre-emergent for the season upcoming. And you can't just throw stuff on the lawn. You have to increment. I don't want to give it too much too much nitrogen until the weeds start to die because I don't want to feed the weeds. Man, very, very disappointed. But I got to make time to do these things. Plus, I find enjoyment in it. I love to have my backyard pristine, perfect. Pull that barbecue up over by the pool, hang out with the kids on a Saturday or Sunday, barbecue, swim. It's the little things in life, folks. It's the little things. All right. With that in mind, I'm out. Okay. Don't forget to follow us and I hope you yourself have a great weekend. And I will see you guys on Sunday from the book club. YouTube members, I'll post it on the community section as well. All right. Nothing but love for you. Laura gave you a deuces before she left to go get the kids. And I will see you guys soon. Have a great weekend. All the best. And of course, thanks for your support, as always.